Things just got worse and worse and worse as the night went on. Again, valiant effort down the stretch for the Bucks. Just too little, too late. Let's go down and let's see what Coach Fletch and the rest of the crew has to say. As always, go Bulls. So let's head into the locker room right now and see what the guys have to say about that one. Wow. Where do the Buccaneers go from here? What an incredible atmosphere. What a good win for the Tampa Bay Lightning. They snapped a 7-game winning streak. How we feeling, Bucs Nation? It's time to party, baby.
What's going on, everybody? Welcome to the Jay Recher Podcast. Happy Friday to you and yours. Yes, a little late today. Of course, like a package comes like right before I'm about to sit down. So had to make sure I get that. Get off the porch. You just never know with these porch pirates out there. They might take your stuff. So you got to be careful. You got to be careful out there. So, yeah, just make sure you get a package delivered. Go get it off the porch. If it comes now between now and 2 o'clock, it's just the way it goes. Just the way it goes. Make sure you follow me on all social media platforms, Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, Twitch, TikTok. I am everywhere. Like and subscribe. We're getting so much closer to, 1,400 subscribers. I think we're 2 away. So if you haven't subscribed yet, what the hell are you waiting for? Help me out. Get on out there and subscribe to the Jay Recher Podcast, man. A lot of great things going on here today on the program. We are jam-packed with guests. Our guy, Tom Krasniqi, is going to join us at 12:15 to talk about the New York Knicks win in Game 5. And how about the Red Hot Rays? My goodness, insane. And, of course, shout out to our guy, David Terry, with the $10 donation. David, thank you so much. We're going to have our sponsors and our partners joining up here in the next week or two. So if you want to be a part of the Jay Recher Podcast, feel free to reach out to me on social media at Jay Recher. David Terry, always with the contributions on Friday. Thank you much, brother. Every little bit helps. Thank you so much, my friend. And yes, Dolan, Knicks got it done. We just got to keep it rolling. Game 6 as well. Tom Krasniqi is going to join us at 12:15. At 12:40, Tampa Bay Rowdies interim coach Steve Coleman is going to join us on the program as well. 1 o'clock, we're going to go to Houston. Andy Freed, Tampa Bay Rays radio voice, is going to join us. And then at 1:30, Jordan Yost, the Saladino Award winner, the standout at Sickles High School. He's going to Florida. He's going to be a Gator. He's going to join us at 1:30 today. A little bit of everything. The guest list that you're going to get here on the Jay Recher Podcast, you are not going to get anywhere else. Let's just remember that, okay? The guest list, whenever I'm a part of a show, the guest list is going to be through the roof, whether it was with Ian or Zach or even Ron and Ian setting everything up. The guest list here is going to be like nowhere else here in the Tampa Bay area. So we're going to reach all the different corners of the Tampa Bay area, from prep to college to pros to guys that aren't even here anymore. We'll see the Joe Maddens and the Rondé Barbers and the Rich Hollenbergs. And today we're having guys like T. Kraz, Andy Freed, Steve Coleman, and Jordan Yost on the program. Cannot wait. It is going to be a fantastic program here for you. We got some great news to start the day. I don't know if you guys saw this. I really hope that you did. But my goodness, just another feather in the cap for Team Tampa Bay. Rob Higgins and the Tampa Bay Sports Commission. The Yuengling Center will be the host of the 2027 and 2028 American Basketball Championships. We're going to get it right here in the Bay Area. That's even more of those tourist dollars here in our area. And I heard that Tampa was in the running. I actually heard this a couple of months ago in March when we were at the Yuengling Center for the women's basketball, about finding out who they were going to play in the first round. And there were some murmurs then that, hey, man, Tampa could be in contention. They could be in discussion for hosting the American Athletic Championships. And there you go, in 27 and 28. What a great thing for our area. It's going to be a lot of teams in the American being able to be here. And now with Coach Brian Hodgson, I'm so excited. Tampa Bay's home for hoops. It's just so great. And man, I know the summer is really not even we're not even in full swing yet, but I cannot wait for basketball season. That after what happened last year with Coach Jose Fernandez, getting back on the horse there after a ton of injuries last season, this past season was fantastic. And, going back to the NCAAs, winning the American Athletic Conference tournament. And then on the men's side, right, what Ben Fletcher did after, we lost Amir Abdur-Rahim and the way that those kids fought. Like, you have a special place in your heart for USF men's basketball because of what everybody in that program had to endure. And now you have a guy like Coach Brian Hodgson, and you saw it the other day, they're a top 25 recruiting class in the country. So, I mean, that's pretty damn good for an American Athletic Conference team. I mean, you look at the teams at the top, and it's the Dukes and the Houstons and the, teams, Floridas of the world. Like, USF is right there. So if we're recruiting well, if you can coach and develop these guys, there's no reason that the men shouldn't be right back in the NCAA men's tournament. I cannot wait for basketball season. What a night last night. The Knicks win to push it to a game 6. Not really Indiana got close a couple of times, but Tyrese Halliburton didn't play a lot. I thought the Knicks did what they had to do, and it's all going to come down to a game 6 to see if they can push it to a game 7. On the hockey side, my God, this is something that Peter DeBoer is going to have to live with for a while. And to hear what he had to say about Jake Ottinger, and listen, this is, and I want to play this for you guys because I just, man, this is rough. Because going into these playoffs, especially the series from Dallas and Winnipeg, you're looking at the 2 best goalies in America, or 2 best American goalies, with Jake Ottinger and Connor Hellebuck, and people were saying whoever wins the series is probably going to be the goalie for Team USA, right, in the Olympics. But, man, you have a guy in Jake where he gives up 2 goals on 2 shots, and then you pull him? Man, I don't know if that's so smart. And to me, this is the sound of a coach who, whether he knows it or not, this is kind of the beginning of the end, whether it's the beginning of the end of Jake in Dallas or whether it's the beginning of the end of him in Dallas. But just listen to Pete DeBoer's explanation on why he pulled Jake Ottinger last night.
Well, anytime you pull a goalie, there's the reasoning's always to try and spark your group. So that was the number one reason. We had talked endlessly in this series about trying to play with the lead. And obviously we were in a 2-0 hole right away. And you know what, I didn't take that lightly, and I didn't blame it all on Jake, but the reality is if you go back to last year's playoffs, he's lost 6 to 7 games to Edmonton, and we gave up 2 shots on 2 goals in an elimination game. So, it was partly to spark our team and wake them up, and partly, knowing that, status quo had not been working, and that's a pretty big sample size.
Oh, that's rough. That is rough. That is oh my God. I can't believe he said that. I cannot believe that he said that. Going back to last year, what the hell does that have anything to do with it? Your best chance to win is with Jake Ottinger between the pipes. Sometimes goals come in flurries. You're going to see 2 goals in 30 seconds, 2 goals in 57 seconds. That's what playoff hockey, sometimes that's all it takes. We've seen it in every series of the playoffs, right? We just saw it in the game the other night where, down 2-0, Florida comes back and they score 2 goals. Right? Carolina didn't panic. They hung with it. Unfortunately for them, they didn't win. But, man. And to say it's not all on Jake, it sure as hell is. If that's what you're doing, you're thinking that by pulling him out, you're giving your team the best chance to succeed. You think sending a message to your team at that time is the right time to do it? Wow. That is a huge – listen, they may not have won the game. They may not have won the series. But that right there, in essence, putting the onus and putting the blame. You listen, there's no joke. Pete DeBoer blamed, whether he wants to admit it or not. Pete DeBoer pulling Jake Ottinger in that situation squarely puts the blame on him. It was his fault. Wow. The guy that backstopped you there. I don't like that at all. Another thing I don't like is this breaking news from the Tampa Bay Rays. Oh, God, you have got to be kidding me. Come on, man. Really? Are we serious with this? The Rays have reinstated Jake Mangum from the 10-day IL and optioned Chandler Simpson to AAA Durham. What are we doing, man? Why? Why? This is a guy that's giving you life. This is a guy that's giving you entertainment. There is nobody that's going to be happy with this move. Nobody. Listen, Jake Mangum, great before he got hurt. No doubt about it. But Chandler Simpson is a difference maker. This is a guy that's got a 333 average in his last 16 games. He is a problem on the base paths. Why? Oh my God, man. These are the kind of moves that the Rays just can't get out of their own way sometimes. Why do things like this? He's playing good in the field. He puts the ball in play. He's an absolute menace on the base paths. People have to make sure that they know where Chandler Simpson is at all times. I just don't get it, man. I don't get it with the Rays, man. I don't. This is a guy, people want to watch Chandler Simpson play baseball. People want to go to games and see him cause havoc. He is the most entertaining and exciting player that this team has had since Randy Arozarena. He's one of the most exciting players to ever wear a Tampa Bay Rays uniform. And now you're sending him down? Oh, my God. There's nobody in the Rays fan base is going to be happy with this. And if you're one of those people, you're just following blindly. Whatever they do is right. You can't live like that. Oh, God damn, man. Why? Oh, God dang it, man. I swear to you, I try to defend this team. I try to, I don't get it, man. I just don't get it. Like, I'm like, it hurts my brain. It hurts my brain. T-Kraz needs to come on quickly. I just don't understand. I just don't understand why you're sending this guy down. I know he's got options, right? I know you're thinking that maybe he needs more seasoning in AAA. Man, this guy has acclimated himself. This guy has made it seem like he belongs here. This is a guy that is a spark for your team. This is a guy that's been a huge part of why you've been able to turn this series and turn this season around. And now you send him down? What kind of message does that send to your players? What kind of message does that send to your fan base? Hey, play well, contribute to winning, be exciting, put butts in the seats. And even if you do all that, well, you know what? You're really not, at the stage of your development that we think you should be, or, you might fall off a cliff here. We want to send him down before, while he still has some good vibes. That's going to be the message. That's going to be the message. We're going to send him down because, listen, he wasn't with the team to start the season. We didn't think he was ready. And he came up because we had some injuries. Yeah. He's come up because you've had injuries. And he's played well enough to stay here. The Rays, sometimes they overthink things. It's too much. Put your best players on the field. Stop looking at the manual. Stop looking at the development should be trust your eyes. This guy literally helped you win a game last night. And now you're sending him down. I just don't get it. Oh, my God, man. If you have to constantly explain yourself to your fan base why you make moves of taking players off of your team, you are going to alienate people time and time again. People aren't going to come back because you know what people are saying in the Tampa Bay area right now? Here we go again. Here we go again. Another player that I enjoy watching, and now he's not going to be there the next time I go to Steinbrenner Field to watch a game. That's not a healthy way to do business. Frustrating as hell. I just don't get it. Why do you do this to yourself? Why? There's good vibes. You're building these good vibes. It was tough to start the season because of all the stuff with Stu, because of all the stuff with the stadium, with everything, not knowing what the future is. And you're starting to get some goddamn good vibes with this team. You're starting to feel good about the Rays. And then this happens, and you get the rug pulled out from underneath you. Jesus, man. What the hell are we doing here? They make it so hard for you to freaking support them. And yet we're going to keep Christopher Morel on the team. And I know he's a right-handed batter. We're going to keep Meisner on the team. Okay. I got people texting me. I got people hitting me up. Boom. I can't believe this. Hey, preach about Simpson. What a joke. Can't believe this about Simpson. These aren't people that are freaking out all the time over every single decision. But you can't tell me that this is a thing that is going to make your fan base happy. Why, oh why, do you have to consistently make decisions to piss off your fan base? I don't understand that. If everything has to come with a caveat, you're going to turn off and tune out as soon as humanly possible. You don't stand for that at work. You don't stand for that in friendships and relationships. If somebody that you're with is always late or never follows through what they're going to say, oh, but this, oh, I had to do this, oh, I had to do that. Bro, you're done with that. You don't want to hear excuses anymore. People are pissed. People are pissed, and it's sad because you just came off of a 13-3 win last night. This team has turned the corner, and then you see the news that Chandler Simpson gets sent down. Whether you agree or disagree with it, I think the majority of the people disagree with it. Come talk me off this ledge, Thomas. T. Kraz joining the program. He's going to have Eric Neander on the show later, and of course he's going to, have it in a way where they think that this is going to put the team in a position to succeed. And I understand that certain guys have options and other guys don't have options. But Tom, you and we're in the same kind of thing, brother, where we defend this team and we try to say, hey, you got to trust, err on the side of their judgment. They make a lot of great decisions. But this one, man, where the kid's hitting 333 over the last 15 games, he's the most exciting guy since Arozarena. Like, people, for all the bad things going on in the offseason, he's part of the equation of people like, hey, maybe this team's got a little something here. This is a strict gut punch here right before the game tonight.
Happy Friday.
Hey!
Hey, buddy. Hey, Jay Bird.
Jay Bird.
I'm disappointed.
Yeah, man.
There's just no other way around it. Going back to February in spring training when I saw Chandler Simpson kind of doing his thing, and I remember going on the air saying, look, the Rays have to do what they did years ago when Joe Maddon was the manager and they had B.J. Upton and Carl Crawford. That's how you have to attack the opposition. Right. You're not going to outmuscle the Yankees or the Dodgers or anybody else. You're the Rays. You have to understand what you are. You have to understand where your strengths lie. Power is not what the Rays do. It's speed. They lead the majors in stolen bases. Chandler Simpson was stealing at will last night. He had 3 stolen bases. He provides that kind of dimension that a lot of teams are not prepared for, Jay. You know that. You coached this game. You played this game. I mean, the Rays have the ultimate weapon that they're ramming down people's throats. Why go away from that?
Yeah, and it's tough because I know what they're going to say. They're going to talk about the balance with the lineup. They're going to talk about Mangum, and they're going to talk about options. The guy, Christopher Morel, right-handed bat, even though, come on, he's not going to be a part of this team's future going forward. We know that. You kind of take it for a loss. You kind of move on. I just think this is one of those moves, Tom, where it could hurt the Rays, right? Like, you lose this game tonight, right? And then you lose the next game. You're like, damn, man, like, you have so many good things going and good vibes going. And this is a guy that's the center point of everything. He's the guy that's starting to really, like, you've seen this outside of the Tampa area. You've seen the Simpson guy. You're talking about a guy that's putting the pressure on the defense, even on routine ground balls, Tom. I worry what the after effects is of this move for this team because they're playing so well.
They're playing great. Why in the world would you want to disrupt any kind of momentum that you have right now? So from that standpoint, I don't understand it. I do understand, Jay, as you know, that there are politics that go into a lot of decisions in every walk of life, every profession. It happens in broadcasting. It happens in, football, baseball, what have you, healthcare industry. And the fact that Christopher Morel doesn't have any options, and he was the centerpiece of the Isak Paredes trade. I mean, the Rays don't want to admit that failure just yet, but I just don't understand why you would disrupt what you have going right now. They're playing great. They scored 13 runs last night. They're on a big-time roll. They're above 500. You're in second place. And Chandler Simpson is one of the biggest reasons why. So I don't understand the move. Eric Neander will be on with me later, and he's going to have some explaining to do for sure.
And I think this is the problem with one of the problems with the Rays, right? Because you and I are not one of those people that we're going to bash every move. We're going to bitch and moan about the finances and stuff like that. There's a lot of it is what it is when it comes to talking about this team, right? A lot of is what it is. They're making the best of what they got. But there's also certain moves, Tom, where there's an optics feel to it. There's an image feel. And part of the Rays and things that they need to do is they need to make sure that, they're, I don't want to say maybe entertaining, but they got to show investment to the fans. They got to show hey, we're going to try to put a product on the field, because that's something that they're highly questioned about every single year, whether it's the payroll, whether it's Stu's fault or whatever. They got to make the best out of a bad situation. A move like this, just on the surface level for casual fans, is bad for optics, Tom. And I feel terrible talking about this in a way, because they're playing so good. They're playing so well the last couple of weeks. And now this is such a fly in the ointment. What do you tell a Rays fan? Just wait to hear from Eric Neander later on the show? Because to me, that's the next step, because I don't care what anybody else has to say. I'm going to tune into 3:30 today. Is that when he showed?
3:30. Yep.
3:30 today. You're live. Are you live on location? I saw today.
I am. Yeah. Moss and East Side of North Tampa, Florida Avenue. So anyone's in the neighborhood, they can come on by.
Go check them out, man. But I guess we just got to wait for Neander, right?
Listen, it sucks.
Yeah.
Jay, this sucks. You have everything going in your favor. The offense is scoring runs, you're manufacturing runs. And the reason why you're doing that is you're leaning on your speed, which I think is one of their biggest assets right now. Pitching, defense aside, it's the speed. It's their ability to threaten the opposition. I love taking the extra base. I love the double steal. Chandler Simpson produced a run all by himself in that one inning last night. He gets on base, steals 2 bases, comes in on the error. So I hate it. I hate it. I hate everything about this move. And I'm looking for answers just as much as every other Rays fan out there. And later on today at 3:30, look, Eric is a sharp guy, and he looks at things from many different prisms that the normal fan doesn't. But on the surface, this move is not a good move. It stinks.
Yeah, and I know they have to operate in a different way because they're playing a completely different game than a lot of other teams because of their payroll and because of the options, and I get that. But, you have to understand, man, if you're making moves like this, you're pissing off a fan base that do you agree that it's a very fragile fan base right now? And I'm not saying that as a slight, but I'm just saying because of everything that's going on. People ask me all the time, where are the Rays going to play? Still to this day. And I'm going to be coaching again this summer. I just announced the other day I'm going to be traveling to Alabama and North Carolina, South Carolina, coaching baseball. And bro, when I travel, people ask me about the Rays, and that's going to happen again. People are going to say, "What's the deal with the Rays?" And it's a tough situation, man. But outside of the speed, what have you liked about this team when they've turned this, slow start around? Because, man, they've been playing really good baseball as of late.
Well, they're getting contributions from a number of different guys. Brandon Lau, as well as anybody, he is the streakiest dude I've ever seen. And when he gets on one of these heaters like he's been on in the last week or two, he can carry a team. So he's been incredible. Junior Caminero, you find it interesting, by the way, that 2 things. Cash benched him last Wednesday in the afternoon game against Hunter Brown. I thought that was a sly move by him. As a 21-year-old, you take a step back, you can exhale, you see things from a different angle. Then they had the off day on Thursday. And ever since then, Jay, he's been on fire. And also, another event that kind of coincides with it is, and this will give fuel to the fire to those fans who are saying, well, they should fire the hitting coach. He summons his guy from the DR to kind of come up and take a look at what's going on with him. Isn't that what a hitting coach is for, perhaps?
Right.
So I think he's been on a roll since those two events happened.
Yeah, and I wonder what that means. Usually you don't, unless there's the team's really struggling. Do you fire a hitting coach or a pitching coach? And the Rays obviously aren't doing that right now, but it's something that maybe the Rays look into after the season. I got a great relationship with Brady North, the assistant hitting coach, with Chad Mottola, and I know their big thing when they're talking about hitting is rumble strips. That's how they work with the hitters. They think about it like rumble strips on a highway. If a guy's messing up, like you just kind of give him a little bit of information so he can kind of get back on the highway. Unfortunately for Junior, he needed more than that. He needed to go to the mechanic. He needed a full transmission change to get it. Yeah, he gets on top of the ball way too much, and he's grounding into more double plays than pretty much anybody in the major leagues.
He leads the majors in that category.
Something that he's got to rectify. And, when he's putting the ball in the air, man, he goes a long way. He's hitting a lot of line drives now, which is definitely something you want to see. We got to put things in perspective too. He's 21 years old. So, I mean, it's going to take some time. I want to ask you a little about the Bucks too. I know you've been talking a lot about the Chris Godwin injury. I saw you have Booger McFarland on the other day. Again, listen to Tom every day at 3:00 on 95.3 WDAE and AM 620. Follow him on socials at TKraz. Are you more concerned? Have you gotten more concerned with the Godwin injury over the last couple of weeks? Because that's what I've been gleaning from your show the last couple of shows.
A little bit, Jay. And, the optics of it is kind of interesting. And I'm just wondering, and this is just me speculating, and I talked about this with Booger when he was on yesterday. The Bucks get into this bidding war with the Patriots at the start of free agency. So you have to assume, at least I would at the time, and I remember I had Chris Godwin on the show after he agreed to the deal, and I asked him about his rehab. Hey, everything's going great. It's peachy keen. I'm just wondering if something happened between that point and the draft in that 6-week period. Was there not enough progress? Was there a setback? The Bucks will never come out and obviously mention that publicly. But it's fair to wonder because ever since then, Todd Bowles, I hope he's ready for week 1. Jason Light said the same thing. So it's fair to wonder if Godwin's going to be ready. And obviously it makes all the sense in the world now because they took Emeka Egbuka in round 1 because they are not confident that Godwin will be ready.
Yeah, and I think when you look at the move, bringing in Emeka, I think Chris Godwin for himself made the right move going back to the Buccaneers. Because if he went to Jacksonville or he went to New England, I mean, they're going to expect him to go week 1 and to be wide receiver 1. And if he wasn't going to be that guy, people would have called him a bust. And people said, oh, he would have just did it for the money. So like he insulated himself a little bit too by going back to the Buccaneers because Tom, even like we'd love for him to be ready week 1, but if he's not, people aren't going to freak out in the Tampa Bay area.
They're fine.
They have the resources. Yeah,
they do. Mike Evans is healthy. He's your wide receiver 1 regardless. Jalen McMillan came on like gangbusters. And Emeka Egbuka is equipped to come in right away because of where he played, how smart he is. He can line up in the slot, and he's very much like Chris Godwin. He's a tremendous blocker, lines up in the slot, can line up outside, catches the ball really, really well. Nobody's caught more balls in the history of that program than Emeka Egbuka. So I think the Buccaneers will be fine. And once you get Godwin back, I mean, the more the merrier. I mean, from 1 through 4, you can't find me another wide receiver group from 1 through 4 as good as the Buccaneers.
No doubt. Do you think I saw something yesterday? Trey Palmer, the Steelers are looking at Trey Palmer. If you had would you move a guy like Trey Palmer to the Steelers if they came calling?
I think he is now expendable for sure because of Egbuka and now Jalen McMillan. Mike is probably going to play a year, maybe 2. Godwin is obviously locked in for the next 3 years. So I don't know what kind of value he has, Jay. I mean, what are we looking at here? I know the Steelers are looking at Jonnu Smith. I mean, that was the other report. Yeah. Trey Palmer. They're looking for some kind of weaponry because at some point, your boy, Aaron Rodgers, I think is walking through that door. Who the hell knows?
What is going on with Aaron Rodgers? He is waiting till his sweet ass time. I find it, do you find it weird? Like, growing up, the Pittsburgh Steelers were such a venerable franchise. They did things their way. Everything was always upstanding. They made so many of the right moves. This just seems so anti-Steelers, anti-Mike Tomlin that you would put all your eggs in a basket for a guy like Aaron Rodgers that is so volatile. And you don't even know if he's going to be good. Like, it's just such a strange move. I just I don't know how we got to this situation where the Pittsburgh Steelers are the team waiting for Aaron Rodgers and not some like podunk organization that has got like a 27-year-old GM that is a failure. Like, this is the Pittsburgh Steelers. What the hell are they doing?
They've won 6 Super Bowls. I mean, they've been the model of consistency. They're one of the benchmark franchises, not only in the NFL, but in all of sports.
Right.
This is very much unlike anything that they've ever done in their entire history. That's why I'm completely bewildered by this entire situation. Look, Rodgers is 42. What is he going to give you? And Terry Bradshaw talked about it the other day. What are you going to bring this guy in for 1 year? You have 12 draft picks next year. They're going to be in a great position to take one of the quarterbacks, presumably, that will be available next year.
You had Russell Wilson and Justin Fields last year, and now they're both going to start in New York, which is kind of crazy. And you could look at it like, well, maybe they aren't good, and the Steelers wouldn't even take them. Now I look at it as maybe they're better than what the Steelers think, because I don't really know if I trust their judgment if this is what they're doing going forward.
I don't trust them when it has anything to do with the offense. Defense, obviously that's been their hallmark. Offense, Jay, in the last several years, they have no idea what they're doing. They haven't figured it out.
They're in huge trouble, I think. I think they're in huge trouble because even if it works with Rodgers, what's the ceiling? What's the ceiling with Rodgers? Where's the apex here? Because even if he plays well, are you going to beat Kansas City? Are you going to beat Buffalo? Are you going to beat Houston? Like, you're going to beat the teams in your division, Baltimore and Cincinnati and the Browns? Like, who knows, man? You're fighting a battle to be what, the 6th or 7th best team in the AFC? So, man, it's weird that they didn't even try to like reset the clock with even a Shador or somebody like that, like to try to do something, because this year, I think it's a throwaway year for the Steelers.
There's no question. They're the 3rd best team in their division. With Rodgers, I think they're a 7-10 team. I think without him, you're probably looking at a team that wins 4 games maybe, and you put yourself at least in the top 5 discussion when it comes to next year's draft.
Yeah, no doubt. All right, let's talk about the main event here. Knicks win Game 5 last night. No surprise, really. I mean, going into that game last night, Halliburton didn't play all that much. He didn't play that well when he was in there. Knicks did what they had to do. I love how TJ McConnell wants to talk smack, even though he had 7 points again last night. You love the guys that are bench players that can't even score more than 10 points, and they're talking smack to celebrity role. Thanks, TJ McConnell. You did an awesome job last night turning the ball over at the baseline.
Well, he played like garbage, dude.
He was
terrible. Come on.
Terrible.
Give me a break, dude. Seriously.
Backups. Who are you? You ain't no Chris Childs. Get out of here. Game 6 coming up. Do the Knicks have a chance to, I don't want to say win the series yet, but do you think they have a chance to push it to a Game 7?
I do.
Yeah, me too.
And I wouldn't have said that last night. I'm very surprised as to how poorly the Pacers played. Here you are in a position to put this series away. You cannot let a team like the Knicks back up for air, and that's exactly what they did last night. They played terribly, Jay. I was shocked as to how poorly they played. They didn't lead at one point throughout that entire game. The Knicks showed that sense of urgency. They jumped on them. Brunson was great in the first quarter. He was great in the second half. Karl Anthony Towns, I'm telling you, forget about settling behind the arc. I mean, you're 7 feet tall. When he puts the ball on the floor and goes to the basket, there's nobody who can stop him. Nobody.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, if they don't turn the basketball over, I think they have a really good chance of winning Game 6. It just comes down to turnovers. And one thing that I really liked last night was Coach Thibodeau understood what his rotations needed to be, putting Landry Shamet in, putting DeLon Wright. I made that mention yesterday. I said he's got to figure out his rotation because he hasn't done it all year long, getting those guys involved. Now he got them involved. He put them in at the right times last night. It seemed like in that day of preparation before Game 5, Thibodeau knew what his rotation needed to look like. I don't think he's done that at all in this entire postseason because he's been playing pretty much 8, maybe 9 guys, but now he's putting Achua in. He's putting I was going to say Landry Shamet in. He's putting in DeLon Wright. I feel like Thibodeau may have tipped the scales a little bit. How do you feel about the Knicks' depth? Because people say that it is a problem, but now you're going 10 guys now on this bench.
I think Tibbs has done a really good job of figuring things out, I think, in the last couple of games. If you notice, he's made some refinements. He has gone deeper into his bench because I think Shamet can play. We know Deuce McBride can play. He's bringing in Josh Hart in off the bench. I think that's probably his best asset to this point. Right. Mitchell Robinson starting is absolutely the right move. I thought he was phenomenal, by the way, last night on both ends of the floor. And you're seeing how the Knicks are working Jalen Brunson in certain situations, having Nesmith, who, by the way, again, he did not look like himself. I think the ankle is definitely bothering him. They're working Brunson off the ball, off screens. He's getting to the basket. The Knicks points in the paint. I think they had 60 points in the paint last night. They forced 20 turnovers. Their defensive intensity, Jay, was, to me, the one thing that really stood out. Pacers turned it over 20 times, and I think that was the reason why the Knicks were able to win. If they can somehow replicate that tomorrow night, things are going to get really interesting around here.
I said it was going to go 7 games before the series started. It doesn't matter how you get there, just get there. The question is, though, can either one of these teams beat the Thunder? Because I don't think so.
No, they can't. And plus, the Thunder are going to be well rested now. They're going to have like a week. They're getting a week of rest, so no one's going to stop them. Their defense is suffocating. They've got outstanding depth. They've got 3 stars that they can lean on. They are an incredible basketball team, and they are built, Jay, to be really good for several years. All of those guys are really young players.
Yeah, and it helps that some of their young guys, SGA and Chet Holmgren, they're not even in line for that max deal quite yet. So when that I mean, your two best guys aren't making making the most amount of money, I mean, you're in a good spot. All right, real quick, last one. Who wins the Stanley Cup final, Panthers or Oilers?
I'm impressed with what Edmonton did against Dallas. I thought Dallas would win that series, but Connor McDavid completely took that series over, and they kind of had Dallas back on their heels after game 1. I can't go away from Florida, Jay. You've seen them, obviously. I've seen them. I think they're built to win between their special teams, their goaltending, the experience. I know this is a rematch of last year. Yep. Last year's series was, very exciting, obviously, went right down to the wire. I expect the same thing to happen in this series. I'm going to take Florida in 7.
The last 2 times that there has been a rematch in the finals, and this is since the league expanded in 1975, the team that came back and lost the first year won the second year. So the Islanders and the Oilers, and then the Penguins and the Red Wings. So I think this might be the year Connor McDavid gets over the hump. But you can't bet against the Florida Panthers, and you can't bet against Tom Krasniqi at TKraz on all social media platforms. He's live from Moss Nissan in North Tampa today. Eric Neander at 3:30. Again, live every day at 3 o'clock on 95.3 WDAE and AM 620. I mean, you should sign me up for imaging, bro. That's the kind of stuff that you can put on your show on the airways.
You're not kidding. There's nothing else that needs to be said there.
You're the best, man. Thanks so much for your time. Have a great show today. I'll definitely talk to you tomorrow.
Absolutely. Yeah, thanks for having me, brother. I really appreciate you, Jay.
You got it. Go Knicks, pal.
All right. Go Knicks.
Yeah. The one and only Tom Krasniqi, man. He's got to go. He's got to roll. I'm glad that Tom had this, because Tom and I are, simpatico on a lot of things, and especially when it comes to Chandler Simpson, man. Like, I just don't get it, man. I don't get it. You can talk about how these other people and these other players can help you. I mean, you just... Again, if you're looking for these different reasons to explain yourself all the time, it's just, I always go back to the relationship thing, right? If you're in a relationship with somebody, right? Let's say you're dating a girl, and you're dating this girl, and every single time you go out on a date, she cancels, or she's 15 minutes late, or she doesn't like the restaurant, or she hates the food, or just like she doesn't like what you're wearing. It's just like every little thing. Like, nobody wants, listen, we live, and this is where the Rays, I think, missed the boat more than anything. The majority of us that live here in the Tampa Bay area, including the ones that have, like, you didn't grow up here, myself included, like, you live here because of convenience. You live here because you love it here. You live here because you love the weather. Maybe not now when it's hot as hell, but right, the majority of the time, we love the weather. We love to. Pretty much all of our friends have a pool, and everybody's got air conditioning, and we're so close to the beach and the water and the professional sports teams, and going to Busch Gardens, and it's not too far from Disney, and you can go to all the different places in the Sunshine State. We live here because of convenience, because we love it. And if there's things that we don't like, we just don't do them. Okay, fine. That's what you like. That's all right, fine. We don't want to do that. We'll do something else. That's the same thing when it comes to the Tampa Bay Rays. They have to realize that if you inconvenience people, they're just going to be, you don't want them to be apathetic, man. You don't want them to be flippant about your product. I learned this a long time ago when it came to radio, when it comes to podcasts, like, don't give people a reason to get off the highway. Ever. You do that, it's going to be a tough putt, man. It really is. And I think we're in that situation right now. You make a move like that today, people are not going to be happy. All right, let's bring him in. The interim gaffer for our Tampa Bay Rowdies, the one and only Steve Coleman. I love the background, man. You're floating in space. How you doing, Coach? How are things?
Yeah, I'm good, mate. Apologies for the background. I couldn't change it in time with the time. There's actually a Rowdies board behind me, but you can't see it.
No, it's all good because the last couple of chats that I've had with players on the team, it's just been a plain white background, and I've told Jake, like, we got to do a little something. We got to jazz it up a little bit. Man.
I feel sorry for Jake because behind me, he's got some lamp here to make me look much better looking, and then there's a board behind me, and none of them are working right now.
It's all good.
Yeah, good times.
Yeah, the hat looks good, and Jake does a great job over there. First, before we talk about everything going on with the team, let's talk about the first pitch, man. Take me through the first pitch at the Rays game the other day. I mean, it looked good, man. The arm action looked good. As me as a former baseball coach, I love the whip. It looked good. Got the southpaw action. Take me through the first pitch. What was that like?
Yeah, look, they asked me at the beginning of May if I would do it. And I said, yeah, I'm happy to do it. No problem. You won't know this about me, but I was a cricketer, which you guys are just getting into it over here a little bit with Major League Cricket. But I was a cricketer back in the day, and I've thrown thousands and thousands of balls around in my younger days. So it wasn't so much of a big deal for me. And I said, yeah, I'm happy to. It'd be a really cool thing to have my son and my family come out and experience it on the field before the game and stuff. So I was happy to do it. And obviously we got moved back a little bit to the end of the month, but no, it was a cool experience. I loved it. It's something that I'll be able to tell people about. I got to throw the first pitch at a major league game. But our physio, Dave Walker, is 28 years in the major leagues as a physio, said to me last week, "You just got to be careful, man, because the plate's a lot higher than it looks on the TV." And and I said to him, "Yeah, look, it'll be fine, mate, no problem." So I actually stood at Al Lang last week behind the pitch there. There's obviously the old mound of the old stadium, and I stood on top of it and I thought, it's actually not that high. I don't know what he's worried about. And then I got to the mound on Tuesday night and thought, you know what, it's a bit harder than I thought it was. So I hit the catcher over the plate, but he did have to jump a little bit to get there. But as long as it didn't bounce, Aaron Guillen said to me last week that his actually bounced when he got to do it when his time run around. So like I reached the other end and I was happy to get off the plate and not disgrace myself. So very happy, cool experience.
Yeah, I had the chance last year to throw the first pitch of the Rays game, and I try to do a Hideo Nomo, old Japanese pitcher, try to make it all fancy, and I didn't bounce it in front of the plate. I bounced it to the side of the plate, and luckily Ryan Pepiot, the pitcher, kind of scooped it out of the ground. So all my friends were embarrassed. So I mean, they were embarrassed, not me. But it's a great experience to be able to do that. How's the adjustment been, to being here in the Tampa Bay area? I mean, obviously, coming here first year, and obviously the change, now moving over and now being the interim coach. What has it been like for you being here in the Tampa Bay, in the community?
We love it. My family and I, my wife and my son, are massive beach lovers, outdoor people. So being in this part of the world is a real bonus for us. Obviously, the weather's great for the most part of the year. It's getting a bit hotter now, which is good. But we love the area. We were in obviously Virginia last year. I spent a year at Loudoun United with Ryan Martin and the guys up there and had a great time. And when the opportunity came to come to a club like the Rowdies, I grew up with a family who loved football and George Best and that kind of stuff. And obviously he didn't play for the Rowdies, but he's in a lot of those older videos that you see, the Fort Lauderdale Strikers against the Rowdies and stuff. So for me, coming to the Rowdies was an absolute no-brainer. And, it's a fantastic football club. I love the community. I love the fans, their passion. They're on my back a little bit at the moment to make sure that the results can turn around, obviously. But, hopefully they can see that we care deeply about the success of this football club and we're trying to turn that around.
Yeah, and I always got the scarf here. I got my
nice.
My great grandparents are Mancunian, so I've been it's a tough putt for us on the United side. I mean, I'm the guy that wakes up at 6 a.m. to watch them play in Hong Kong and Malaysia.
Yeah, good on you.
I'm a maniac when it comes to stuff like that. One thing that I've learned about you is that you've really tried to learn about the club and its rich history. Especially with this new role for you. How important is that for you to be able to kind of learn what the Rowdies are all about, not just kind of the recent history, but also going back to the 70s and, all the success that they had back then too?
Yeah, look, you'll have known about me. I'm a very proud adopted Kiwi. I didn't grow up in New Zealand, but I consider myself to be a very proud Kiwi. My family are New Zealanders, and when you're from that part of the world, the really important piece is around a word that's heard a lot, which is whakapapa, which I spoke to Ryan and Drew on the broadcast a few times about this as well, which is essentially a legacy piece on you can't really know where you're going until you know where you're from. And, everyone has their own time in the sun to leave the place better than they found it. And you will have heard me talk about that a little bit, Jay, as well. And for me, you can't know where the future of the club lies until you know where it's come from. And, 1975 and the stories around entertainment and bringing football to Florida. And, I read last week that it was the biggest secret in Florida since the Manhattan Project, which I love the line around trying to bring it to the game. And, I've spent a lot of time talking to guys like Mike Connell and Perry van der Beek over the last little while to really get an essence of what this place is about and why it's so important to the people that come and support every weekend, and why ultimately at the moment it hurts a lot of people that we're doing what we're doing. And that helps us shape the future. And we've been able to build a little bit of a culture off the back of that. And, we're using Ralph Rowdy as a real signpost for that over the last few weeks. And look, ultimately, those things are not going to win us games, Jay. They're things that allow us to bring the group together and connect to our community and our past. But ultimately, we have to go far together rather than fast alone. And those things take time to manage. And sometimes the results don't match what's going on behind the scenes. But I think there's been a real push from everyone involved in the club at this point to try and get some of that essence of the blue collar hard work back into the team, and not that it was necessarily missing, but just trying to find the essence of what that was like way back in the 70s and into the 80s and the proud history the club has. And I think we have to respect it, understand it before we can start to shape our future as well.
How hard is that too? Because with soccer being such a process over result driven game, you could play a fantastic game and lose 1-0, right? It's just, it's not like basketball where you're scoring 100 points, or hockey, get a couple of goals and you can lose 6-3 and be like, hey, well, this guy did this. You may not see results for a couple of weeks, especially taking over, a club. Listen, and for those that are tuning in that don't really know, like the head man has a lot to do with, bringing in, there's not a huge front office, as in the USL Championship. Like the gaffer's really working close to bring in certain players to have everything work together. And I'm not blaming the players, but how tough is that, Steve, to be able to kind of take the guys now in your new role as the interim head coach and kind of change that, whether it's the shape of the team, whether it's guys playing in certain positions, whether it's guys playing or not playing? Like, how do you change that without just like upsetting the apple cart and changing everything? Because there are players there that have had some success, but obviously the results haven't kind of panned out the way you guys have hoped.
No, they're definitely not where we'd like them to be. And, people are frustrated with what they're seeing at the moment. But I think even the passing fan can see that in certain games, or no, not certain games, all games, there's been periods of play where, oh, that's the Rowdies. Here they are. Point to the first half against Miami, where we were, ruthless in front of goal and played a little bit deeper and picked them off on the counter. We were great for 45 minutes. And, even Louisville, we were really, really competitive for 65 minutes or so. And in every game, we've had large periods of games where we've been in the game, on top of the game, and in some cases in front of the game. But unfortunately, sometimes when you have injuries and you have limited availability of certain players that are impactful for the team, that it's hard to sustain those periods of time. And the trick then is to make sure that when you're suffering in those moments and you're under the pressure, that you don't concede and you don't let goals in. And unfortunately, we've not been able to do that over the last little while. Rhode Island, for example, we played pretty well in the game, very competitive, and conceded 3 goals from 35 yards out, all winning the top of the goal. And at that point, you sort of think, well, the performance is one thing. We're going to be judged on whether we win or lose games of football ultimately. But the goals that go in when you're bottom of the league like that, and then in that game we hit the underside of the crossbar and it bounced out, it didn't go in at 1-0 down. And you think, well, the game sometimes is a game of moments, and we've worked incredibly hard over the last sort of 3 or 4 weeks to turn the tide a little bit, and the tide is turning. It's difficult to get points on the road. We got a point in Lexington at the weekend. We came from 1-0 down. those things, I listened to a few things this week around, we struggled in Lexington, we got outplayed. Those are not the numbers that I'm seeing. Those are not the situations that I'm looking at. And we didn't create a load of chances, but we took one chance. But we've also created loads of chances in other games and not taken them. So I think some people need to sort of think about as you said there, the process over the outcome sometimes. And ultimately, we're going to be judged on the result. There's no question about that. But at the same time, it's important to manage the process as best we can to move forwards.
We just had somebody bring up, and I got the news before, Nate Worth getting called up. And what does that mean for that young man and, his growth to be able to get this opportunity to, anytime you can get a guy that, playing internationally or getting different outlooks of playing with different teams, like that can only help him going forward.
Yeah, what an experience for the young man. It's one that's was sort of thrown on us yesterday. We sort of got the news late yesterday afternoon that he was going, and okay, great, what a fantastic opportunity. And speaking to him yesterday morning, he's obviously very excited to get over to Switzerland and experience international football in a pretty significant tournament with the teams that are arriving for that tournament. So yeah, what a great opportunity for him to go and showcase himself on a world stage and an international platform. And it's a fantastic opportunity for him to do those things.
Yeah, for those that didn't hear, Nate Worth called up to the U.S. youth national team U18 in Switzerland for the UEFA Friendship Cup. And, I look at this team, and of course it boils down to, scoring goals. And one of the things that you and I talked about the last time over at Al Lang was, the position of Leo Fernandez. And this is a guy that's dealt with injuries, and, he's still, you hear, behind me when I'm at these games, and they just like, he's the guy that they expect to bring magic to the team. And, it's been tough for him battling back to injury, but, former MVP of the league. And you think that he would probably part of the recipe for the success going forward. This team compared to last year, obviously losing a guy like Cal Jennings is something that hurt. And you're expecting some of these other guys like Woob and Manu to be able to step up. And what do you got to do as a team offensively, especially to put those guys in a position to succeed? Because, Leo, you told me that you want him a little bit closer to goal, but he's also a guy that's able to whip the ball into the box pretty well. And that's how you guys scored to level up the game. So it's kind of, how do you find that balance to be able to, put your particular players in the right spot, whether that's on, in the starting squad or off the bench, but also make sure that you're doing what's best for the team. Because sometimes you would hope that they kind of work together, but it may not, you can only play so many guys,
Yeah, of course. Well, for availability is the most important thing. So like, even for Leo, we didn't have him early season. He's battling back from an injury in pre-season. So once we got him back, it was about making sure he could maintain his fitness for short periods of time. And then it was about, okay, can we extend him a bit further? And, as sort of you've alluded to, MVP of the league, in the past, we want him on the pitch as long as he's able to sustain performance over a period of time. And, sometimes as you get a bit older, those things are not so easy. But, he's done a great job over the last 6 weeks. He's such a fantastic pro, first and foremost, to prepare himself for games and be ready and recover in the right way. And those things become more important, obviously, as you start to advance in your career. But we would like him closer to the goal. We would like him sort of more central to allow us to create chances. And as you just said there, how do you create more goals? Well, you've got to put people in the right positions with the ball to finish those chances off. And our numbers in terms of chance creation have been pretty strong over the last little while. And it's about us converting those chances more often than not. And there are teams in the league that are overperforming in that number at the moment, and we're slightly under par, really, of where we'd like to be. And if we can level our numbers out, then we're gonna be competitive in every single game that we play. But guys like Leo being closer to each other, Ollie Bassett and Manu and Woobens closer together and connecting and combining in and around the centre of the pitch makes such a big difference to the way that we can do things. And then for the rest of the group, it's about making sure that we can find them in the right positions rather than them go searching for balls that they're trying to get because they're frustrated with the way the game's going. And, there's a little bit of discipline within that and a little bit of understanding more and more every week of the way we're trying to play and what we're trying to do. And those things, hopefully in the long run, will result in more positive results as we go down the stretch towards the end of the season.
Last one from me, Coach. South Georgia Tormenta FC tomorrow night. Again, get your tickets, rowdysoccer.com, 7:30. It's a Rough and Rowdies night at Al Lang Stadium. Is it change at all? I mean, can this be, because obviously it's not a league game, and there's so many league games left. So, obviously you look at the table, not where you guys want to be, but there's a path. You start playing some good ball here, but can you use a cup game here to kind of either just kind of invigorate it? Sometimes cup games are during the week, right? This is kind of a cup game on a Saturday, so it would be kind of during a league game anyway. So what are you looking for tomorrow night to kind of spur you guys to play some better ball going forward?
Well, look, I think we've trusted our processes over the last 3-4 weeks around what we've been doing. As I said, we've performed well in parts of games. For us, tomorrow night is about making sure that we produce a performance that is a longer stretch of the game, as close to 90 minutes as we can do that. I think last week in Lexington we were a bit slow to start out the blocks, but towards the end of the game we were definitely well worth maybe 3 points, let alone one. But we've had times where we've not suffered in the game and been competitive. There's times obviously where we've been suffering and let goals in. So for us, tomorrow is another game of football, another opportunity for us to step forwards and progress. I talked last week about us making progress. Small steps are important. Tomorrow's an opportunity to take another small step forward towards the future of the football club. And the winning is obviously the objective all the time, but for us, the performance as well is important. We've worked really, really hard in the last couple of weeks around the things that we want to try and do and who we want to be as a team. And tomorrow night's another opportunity for us to showcase that in the best way possible on a Saturday night in front of our own fans. So, but it also gives us another chance to play in front of our own fans and have that 12th man behind us and cheering us on. And, in the times where we've been good in games, the Miami game, first half, the crowd and the drums and the smoke and the sounds, everyone wants to be part of that. And for us, it's about creating that atmosphere for the fans to be able to do that. And what I have noticed is everyone keeps coming back week on week to support the team. And, I someone asked me last week about what we need to do. What's the message to the fans? Stick with us. Things are beginning to turn, and it may not feel like it now, but we are heading in a direction that is positive. And, we can create more nights like Miami, where 45 minutes of entertainment, goals and opportunities for the team to score. That's what we're trying to do all the time. But for us, it's also about making sure we're defending our own goal, making sure we're not letting goals in. And then we almost have the recipe for winning more games of football than we lose. And hopefully tomorrow night you'll see a more polished and more complete performance than it was the week before. And that's all we can do, is try and be better this week than we were last week.
Shout out to the Green and Gold Army and Ralph's Mob and everybody there. And a big thank you to you, Coach. Tampa Bay Rowdies interim head coach Steve Coleman joining us on the program. Best of luck, not just tomorrow, but also the rest of the season. You'll see me out there a bunch over at Al Lang. Thanks so much for your time, Coach. We'll talk again soon.
Thanks, Jay. Talk to you soon.
You got it, buddy. Good stuff. Oh, as always. Oh, we'll bring you in a second, Andy Freed. The man right there. Really, really good stuff from interim head coach. I call him head coach, Steve Coleman, and the Tampa Bay Rowdies. Listen, there's a lot of great things going on with that club. Sometimes it is, one of those things where it is the darkest right before, it starts getting light out again. But there's a lot of good players on this team and the right people in place. And I love that Coach Steve Coleman has invested into the culture of this team and learned about the history of the Tampa Bay Rowdies. Those who learn from history those who don't learn from history are condemned to repeat it. So I love that he is a guy that understands that there is such a passionate fan base. There's so many people here in the Tampa Bay area that go back to the 70s with the Perry Vanderbeck years, and they care so much about this club. And this is a rough period. And I look at through all sports, right? When you go through it with your team, when your team struggles, and then they're finally good. God, it makes it that much sweeter, right? And let's look at my family, right? I mean, it's different with the Yankees, right? My dad's and my little brother, they're used to seeing the Yankees in the playoffs every year. But when you look at the Knicks and how bad they were, that's why people are so excited right now, because they were so poor, they were so bad. And we look at that with our teams here, right? When the Lightning were terrible, when the Cowboys were the owners, right? And then they were good. If you've been through those years with the Lightning, if you've been through those years with the Rays and with the Bucks, when they win, when this place becomes Team Tampa Bay and Champa Bay, it just makes it that much sweeter. So, Yeah, I'm excited. I'm excited for the future with the Rowdies, and I'm really positive that they have the right guy in charge with Steve Coleman. So again, tomorrow night, rowdysoccer.com. Go get your tickets. South Georgia Tormenta FC, 7:30 start. It's going to be a fun one there at Al Lang. All right, let's bring him in. One of the voices of our Tampa Bay Rays, the great Andy Freed. Andy, thank you so much for making some time for us today. Let's start right off the top with the news that Chandler Simpson got sent down. A lot of people unhappy just because of how exciting he is for this team. You're such a voice of reason and level-headedness. Why do you think that this is a call that the Rays made at this point? Because they've played so well after an up-and-down start.
Hello, Jay, and thank you for having me. Look, I'd be lying if I said the moment that I saw it on my text that I wasn't like, oh, he's a blast to watch. He's fun. Yeah. He's interesting. He's engaging. He's a really nice kid, and he's added a lot to this team. However, I would also say that he's not a finished product yet. Right. The only reason that he was up this early is because of the injuries to the entire outfield of the Rays. Think about it. They lost Palacios and DeLuca and Lowe early. The replacements were Jankowski and Mangum, and they all went on the injured list. So you had to get the depth from somewhere. The plan was not to have Chandler up in April and May. So when you have that much talent, and it is a good problem to have, but at the same time, I do understand why people would be upset about it, because there's a part of me too that it's like I'm going to miss watching him play. But that being said, it's only going to be for a certain amount of time. At some point, he'll be back. I don't know if it's this year or moving forward. The Rays have a lot of outfield depth, and let's not forget too. Mangum is the one that is being brought back in. Mangum was kind of the excitement of Chandler before Chandler was this year.
Right.
Mangum was a big spark to this group, and I would say that the story of this year for the Tampa Bay Rays is how the backup outfielders, I don't mean to say that in terms of an insult to them, but the guys that weren't necessarily the planned outfielders, the young guys came. They basically brought up all of Durham's outfield, that the way they performed and brought energy and brought production to this group. And if I had to guess, and I haven't talked to Kevin Cash yet, I just got the news about optioning Chandler myself right when you all were getting it. I would think defense has a fair amount to do with it. Meisner has been so good defensively in center field that it will be hard to take that away. Chandler's got a lot to learn defensively, but I do think he is, without a doubt, cemented as a part of the plan of this organization moving forward, whether it's this year and in the future.
Yeah, and as much as we'd love to see him up here and stay up here in May and June, I mean, Chandler Simpson's impact may be felt the most when you get closer to the postseason, right? And they're one-run games, and just imagine you have a healthy team, and then Chandler Simpson's the guy that you pull off the bench to go swipe a bag for you in a tie game, right? In the 8th inning or the 9th inning. So, yeah, I mean, this is why you're the man, Andy. You're making me feel a lot better about this whole
Jay,
thing.
To be honest, well, it's nice of you to say, but look, I'm bummed also about it.
Yeah.
I am, just because I really enjoy watching him play, but I try to step back and have a little perspective. And it's the luxury, too, of being able to have access to the manager, and why I invite people to listen to the Rays pregame show today, because that'll be a big part of what we talk about. But there was a point I was going to make. I forgot what I was going to say. But it's something I think over time it's going to play out. But it is a little bit of a bummer today. There's no getting around it.
Yeah, make sure you listen to the pregame show tonight, 620, 95.3 WDAE here locally on that iHeartRadio app. 8:10 start there in Houston. And, man, what a game last night. And, of course, Chandler was part of it. But, man, what is it, Andy? Just on the surface level, what has been the big turnaround? Because it seemed like they're kind of trying to find their way. They got a couple that love that road trip in Arizona and San Diego. But, man, finding the groove at home. Facing some good pitchers too. It wasn't like they were scraping the bottom of the barrel playing bad teams and facing bad pitchers. They facing some good guys on the bump too. And man, they going into Houston, which could be a little bit of a bugaboo for certain teams, even though they're not, at the level as we've seen them when they were in their World Series years, but still not an easy place to play with a very unique ballpark. But man, the game last night, 13 runs for a team that sometimes gets ridiculed for their lack of offense. What has been the biggest thing, the biggest reason why you've seen this whole thing turn around?
I've been trying to make some sense of it, and it's a little challenging because I'll be honest, after they won 2 of 3 in Toronto, things seem to be turning around. They went to Miami and lost 2 of 3 to the Marlins, and the Marlins are not good.
No.
At that point, that Sunday, I was saying to myself, you know what, that there's a listlessness to this group that I was not enjoying at that moment. And wouldn't you know it, that is the moment that things started to come together. They played a great home series against the Astros. They won the last two. They swept Toronto. They won 2 of 3 in their final series against the Twins, who had been the hottest team in baseball.
Yeah.
And then they blow a 3-0 lead in Houston yesterday, which, by the way, Houston may not be as scary as they once were, but they had the most home wins in the American League. They're 20-10 at home coming into last night. They win 2/3 of their games at home, and they got very hot. They swept the A's. They won a series against the Mariners, and the Rays blew the 3-0 lead, and lo and behold, they exploded offensively against a bullpen that has not given up much. Brian King for the Astros had given up 4 runs for the entire season in 24 innings, and he gave up 5 runs and 5 batters to the Rays. So there's a spark that is here that was not here, I don't think, 2 weeks ago. Part of it could be the return of people like Josh Lowe. And Lowe is playing to the degree of impactfulness that he was back in 2023. And that, to me, I think is a big part of it. But if you had to say what's the number one thing, the starting pitching has been excellent for the Rays. If you look at their last homestand, every starting pitcher had a plus outing. And it happened again yesterday with Shane Baz. Yes, he did give up 3, but he left the game with a chance for the team to win. And then the offense came to the rescue. You allow just 3 runs in a game, you're going to win a lot of games. And that's what the Rays did yesterday against an Astros team that in some ways is better than I thought that they would be. And they're still without Jordan Alvarez. And they didn't play with Christian Walker, who got hit by a pitch yesterday. So I'm very, very impressed. There's a spark back to this team that I didn't think was there during that Marlins series.
You mentioned Josh Lowe, and I said this yesterday on the program. When I coach, sometimes I put a guy in the leadoff spot that may not be your traditional leadoff hitter, but he's a guy that always maybe tries to do too much. He's overswing a little bit if he's a 3, 4, 5 hitter. And if you can run a little bit, and by putting you in the one hole, you kind of just focus on just doing what you got to do, focus on bat to ball skills, and just be a baseball player. I feel like that's what Josh Lowe is doing. And even yesterday, you look at it, the guy struck out 3 times, but he scored 3 runs because he had a hit and 2 walks. Like, he is contributing in the game. I'm sure he's not going to like getting punched out 3 times, but my goodness, hitting him leadoff has really been kind of a stroke of genius that I don't think a lot of people are talking about and giving credence to Kevin Cash.
He struck out yesterday against 2 left-handers with vicious sliders, and that's a really tough matchup. Not to his, he doesn't need me to defend him, but those guys, that's what they're paid to do. They're paid to strike out left-hand batters with those sliders, and very, very tough. But I think Josh has learned from what happened a year ago, and when he got injured and never really got back on track. And he had told us at one point that he tried to, and I think we can all relate to this, he tried to make up for his lost time by doing a little bit more. And that never allowed him to get comfortable in the batter's box. It never allowed him to get comfortable overall. So this year when he got injured in that freak oblique injury on opening day, and I think people would, if they could see the work that Josh did, to prevent just that kind of injury, and lo and behold, it happened again. I think he has come back and said, let's live for this moment here. Let's live for today's game. Let's do what I can to help this group today. Because let's be honest too, when you watch Kevin Cash, he doesn't do a lot of back-to-back left-handed hitters. Right. And now you've got at the top of the order Lowe and Lau, who are both great, but they're both lefties, and you can match up against them a little bit if you're working out of another team's bullpen. But the fact that he's there and seems to make things happen and comfortable in that role, and Josh Lowe is a guy that can run also. He's a bit of a mix of power and speed. So yesterday he walked to begin the game, scored the game's first run. He's creating some havoc at the top of the order. So I don't know if he's going to be there every day. I would think probably not against lefties. I would think tonight against Framber Valdez, you'll probably see Yandy back in the leadoff spot, and Lowe might not start. They'll have Meade in there, and they'll have Morel in there and try to mix it up. But for now, I think that's provided something. It's absolutely provided something at the top of the order.
Andy, what have you seen from Yandy Diaz? I mean, this is a guy that, we're just so used to him. Your career 284 hitter, and you just, it seems like every single time you're like, oh, he's starting to find it a little bit. and then he kind of struggles. It's just been up and down. A couple of swings I didn't like on the homestand where he was kind of just flailing at the ball, which you don't really see from Yandy because he has such a good opposite field approach, letting the ball get deep. Is it him maybe not seeing the ball as well, maybe at home, or it just doesn't seem like Yandy's really clicked it into full gear. And we saw a little bit of a slow start last year before he kind of rounded into form. Are you anticipating that you're going to see that same thing this year? Are there any signs that you see that he's starting to find it? Because it just seems like he's not the Yandy that we're used to.
Well, he's still the guy I want up in a big spot. I think the way he works the at bat, and he can hit for power, and my light is going off here, and he can hit for power and he can hit for average. Yesterday there was one swing I didn't like. He chased 97 away, but he also had a bunch of really good at bats yesterday. RBI single to give the Rays, or RBI sac fly to give the Rays the lead. He doubled off the wall in left center. I think Yandy, in some ways, may be a victim of his own success. He may not be the guy that hit 330 in 2023. Not many are, and be able to withhold that same kind of level year after year after year. But he had a great year. But this is Yandy a little bit before that. 280, 290, 300 type hitter, hits it to all fields, gives you a very comfortable at bat, can hit velocity. The fact that they've taken him off first base, I wouldn't be shocked if that's done a little bit to him. It's different. DHing is different. It just is. I don't know exactly how to relate to it, other than the fact that I've heard some guys say it's like pinch hitting 4 times a game. You're not in the game for the other times that you're not batting. So you got to keep yourself fresh. You got to keep yourself locked in. So I think there's a difference to it. And he's not really playing any first base now. So I wouldn't be shocked if that's part of what has happened. But regardless, he's the guy I went up against, the hard thrower late in innings. He's still, to me, Yandy Diaz.
Yeah, it's a great point because I've heard this conversation for many, many years. For some people, not a big deal. Just go hit 4 times. Other guys, they have to go down and take extra swings in the cage between innings. They can't, they got to put a jacket on, or they got to just stay with the bat in the hand. Like, there's just so many different things. Like Big Papi, David Ortiz, didn't matter to him, whatever. He could just go up there and hit, but it's not like that for everybody. And, you mentioned, him not playing first base. I mean, to me, if you had to tell me if there's one guy that's going to be an all-star for the Rays this year, I mean, is Jonathan Aranda that guy? I mean, this is a guy that I love, and I don't know if you've noticed this, Andy. I don't know if I just love that he's a little bit more upright. I feel like there was so many times last year where when he made solid contact, it looked great, but he would swing through a lot of pitches that I thought, it doesn't look like he's late. He just looks like he's just missing it. He's a little under, he's a little over. And I think that, to me, you're not seeing the ball well. I think it's a little bit of a mechanical switch. He's a little bit more upright here. And man, Andy, he has been fantastic all season long.
He really is a feather in the cap of the Rays, I think, and himself more than anything, but for the patience that this organization has in players, because this was a guy that had done everything he could possibly do at even the top levels of the minor leagues. There was nothing left for him to learn at AAA. So you're going to go through growing pains in the big leagues. He's certainly not the only guy that has. Look at, there's stars around the league now that went through the kind of period that he did when he was just getting beat with velocity up. And I do think that led to his little more being upright and did a lot of drill. Like Curtis Mead has gone through the same sort of thing. There's not much left for him really to do in the minors. He can hit at those upper levels. So for Aranda now, he fouls that pitch off. 97 up, he fouls that pitch off. And then they try breaking stuff. He can cover everything. He can cover off speed away. The cutter up right now, it seems to be what the league is doing against him. There's something with a little hook to it at the end, at the top of the zone, plus still velocity at the top of the zone. So he's dealing with that. But if this is dealing with it, he's still hitting over 300, 10 doubles, 6 homers. And I think as much as that, 2 things he does that I think are especially impressive. One, he works the at-bat extremely well. There's no easy, he doesn't give any at-bat away, and he can hit in the clutch. He's like Yandy. He's a guy I want up in those pressure situations late in games. And, he's had some big at-bats against lefties also. So like I say, it's a feather in the cap for the Rays for being patient with a guy that they believed in and fought through injury and fought through trying to do too much. And now he's not a seasoned final product, but he has made large strides this year. And to me, as of May 30th, he would be an all-star.
Ha-Seong Kim, a lot of people want to know like when we're going to see him. When could we see him, as far as you know, Andy? And what does that mean for Taylor Walls and Caballero? I mean, do you think he's going to be the everyday guy? Like, because this is an interesting part, because I know Taylor Walls is, you always have the guys that just kind of catch a lot of the wrath, and he does have his struggles offensively, but man, defensively, last time I checked, he was the number one when it came to defensive run saved in all of baseball, not just at shortstop. He is that good defensively, and same, almost similar conversation we had years ago with Kevin Kiermaier. When you're that good defensively, you do make up a little bit for, a lack of offensive touch. But what do you see as far as what the team's going to do when Ha-Seong Kim comes in, and when could that be?
Well, the Rays put such importance on defense, and they have to. And that to me, where I learned it was from 07 to 08. When the 07 Devil Rays became the 08 Rays, and suddenly they had great defenders everywhere, and those balls that were going through the infield weren't going through it anymore, and the balls into the gaps were getting cut off in the alleyways, and suddenly you can deal with an offense that fluctuates. Offense tends to fluctuate. In fact, the 08 Rays were not as good. People are shocked to hear it. They weren't as good an offensive team as the 07 Devil Rays. They scored fewer runs. You'd never know it because they defended so much better, and the pitching got better also. Right. So I think that's where the Rays come down on Taylor Walls. They really do feel, like Kiermaier, as you said, that a run saved is as important as a run scored. That being said, at some point, you would like to see a little more consistency offensively. Caballero, I think, has willfully taken on other positions to still be a part of the group. I love that he plays with an edge to him. But overall, I think the Rays did sign Ha-Seong Kim to be the everyday shortstop. Now, whether he will be in there every single day, I don't know. In terms of when he'll come back, I think we are still weeks away from that, because he's got to go through a full spring training. This guy hasn't played since basically middle of last year. And when they get him back, they want him to be fully ready. As to what the counter move is then, I don't have an answer yet. I don't know exactly how they're going to get the mix in. Walls has not been starting much lately. So could he be a guy that comes in late for defense for Junior Caminero at third? That's a possibility. Could he fill in at second? Could he start sometimes at shortstop when Kim needs a break? But I think Kim is here to play. So that's one of those things that's going to have to play out. I don't have a great answer for you at this point on exactly how that's going to play, but I would think that we're still probably a few weeks away from Ha-Seong Kim being there. And look, I pull for Taylor. I think that's a guy that really, you look at him offensively, and sometimes he looks so close to being the kind of hitter that we all seem to think he could be, a slasher with line drives and maybe some occasional power, but a guy that runs well and steals bases, an incredible defender. He's got a great package of tools, but you can only play one guy at one position at one time. So we'll see how it plays out. I wish I had a better answer. I just don't think there is one yet.
Andy, before I get you out of here, give me some breakdown of the rest of the division. I wasn't too high on the Orioles going into the year because I didn't think they put enough focus on their starting pitching. I go, man, you're in a division with all these other guys with the Rays, and the Yankees got Max Fried, and Crochet went to the Red Sox. Like, I know you got a bunch of young players, and you're kind of banking on that recipe of a couple of years ago where, hey, just give me 5 and then we'll go to our devastating bullpen. But man, they've just been atrocious. Boston's been struggling. Toronto ran into the Rays, and the Yankees seem to be the class of the division for now. What do you make of this entire AL East?
It's not the beast that it was. I think there's a lot of mediocrity in the American League East. I don't know when in my lifetime I've really been able to say that, but that while they may not be the best division anymore, I think either the AL Central or the NL West probably has the most talent. But those divisions also have the White Sox / Rockies in them, which the other teams will fatten up on. I think any of these teams could still finish in any of the 5 spots. To me, the sleeping giant in the division, the team that has the most talent in this division, and I swallow it when I say it hard because I don't like it, is the Boston Red Sox. I think they've got the most talent. Top
the
to
youth,
bottom in the
those
division.
youth guys, those young guys coming up too.
They are stepping on themselves over and over, and it's so entertaining to watch them just trip over themselves and the Devers controversy. And they have these young players brought up, and they're putting Christian Campbell all over the field, and they're putting Marcelo Meyer all over the field. And then Bregman gets hurt. They should have done the documentary on the Red Sox this year. It's much more interesting than last year. But that's a very talented team that they are a sleeping giant. Now I hope they drown in their self-imposed wounds. But I don't know. I don't think the Yankees are as good as they are. I don't know. I look at the team and I just see weakness everywhere. I do think they have two really good starting pitchers in Rodon and Fried. I see a lot of mix. How is Ryan Yarbrough doing what he's doing? I think they're late
Crushing it.
Be good.
Crushing it.
Weaver's great, but they are just one Judge injury from being a not very good team. I predicted the Yankees for fourth coming into the year. I thought the Red Sox would win the division, and I thought the Rays and the Orioles would fight for one of the second and third spots, and I thought the Blue Jays would be last. The Blue Jays is another team that can't get out of their own way and haven't been able to for years. But I can't deny the fact the Yankees have the best record. So for right now, it's a May 30th. They're the best team, but I don't think it's going to be an easy coasting for them. Judge is amazing. It still is incredible to me that he gets any pitches to hit. And the Rays have done an incredible job against Judge when they faced him. Is the guy really going to hit 390 with 65 home runs? I don't know how that can happen, but if it does, tip the cap, then they deserve it. But I think at some point the Yankees have to come back to earth.
Yeah, they've been pretty lucky. I mean, they're getting Chisholm back probably in a little bit, but yeah, you're right. Stanton, you don't know, man. You just don't know. That's the beauty about baseball, right? It's just because you think you have a team pegged, right? And all of a sudden, 2 weeks later, everything goes to hell in a handbasket. Yankees-Dodgers is going to be a crazy series this weekend as well. Andy, thank you so much for your time, man. I really do appreciate it. Thank you for, giving us the perspective on the Chandler Simpson thing, because everybody's losing their mind. But again, we got to wait, and it'll be on the pregame show tonight. Listening to Kevin Cash, of course, 95.3 WDAE and AM 620 here locally on that iHeartRadio app. You're the best, Andy. Thank you so much. Give my love to everybody in Houston. We'll talk again soon, buddy.
Absolutely. And don't think, I didn't have that moment where I looked at that text and thought, what the heck are they doing? I had that moment too. But I think we'll find out more from Kevin Cash and the crew later. Jay, it's always my pleasure. Thanks for sitting me in.
Cooler heads prevail, and they don't make them any cooler than Andy Fried. Thanks, pal. Talk soon.
See you, bud.
All right, man. The great Andy Fried. Yeah, I mean, that's the best, right? Like, we're emotional. But when you work for the team, right, when you're like, you have to be a little bit unbiased. You have to be able to kind of take your emotion out of it a little bit. And Andy does such a great job. Neil does such a great job with that as well. But even, you make a move like that, and even Andy said it himself, right? It's like, oh, man, it's tough. It's a tough pill to swallow, man. I still hate it. I understand kind of. Ugh. That's like a ugh. Not great. Not great. Yeah, well, it is what it is. And again, I think another good perspective from him was that it doesn't mean that he's going to be gone for a long time, right? So could we see him again? Yeah, we could. We could see him again. Important to keep that in perspective. It doesn't mean Chandler Simpson's never going to come back. It's not like they DFA'd him. It's not like they traded him. So we will see him again. And we do understand that the most important thing for Chandler Simpson is to have him around when towards the end of the season. Doesn't mean I like the deal right now. Doesn't mean I like the decision. I'm not a huge fan at all. We're getting to that point in the year where, we know the Stanley Cup final matchup. We know half of the NBA finals matchup. So now you're starting to look like, all right, what's going on now? Right. The French Open's going on right now. Iga Swiatek and Arina Sabalenka both reached the fourth round. It's been weird. The French Open, I think, out of the four majors, may be kind of the least hyped. I love the Australian Open. If you've ever listened to me before, I love the Australian Open because I think it's like the start of the year. It's on late, and I love being up late. Wimbledon's Wimbledon. There's such a mystique and there's such a history and a legacy about that. And of course, the US Open always marks to me the end of the summer. So the French Open kind of gets lost in the sauce a little bit, but never a dull moment for sure. Tonight, Yankees and Dodgers, 10-10 on Apple TV. Of course, our good friend Trisha Whitaker will be on the call there. The Yankees are 35-20. The Dodgers are 34-22. That is going to be so freaking badass. Yankees and Dodgers tonight. Knicks and Pacers tomorrow night, 8 o'clock. Man, crazy. Oh, wow. Okay. So if you remember, we talked about this a couple of weeks ago. Lance McCullers, Tampa kid, Houston Astros right-hander. This is a story that came out this morning, and we know this. We spoke about it on the show. His family received online death threats following a tough start. His 5-year-old overheard his wife talking about it on the phone, and the daughter asked, "Daddy, what is threats? Who wants to hurt us? Who wants to hurt me?" Oh my God, man. That sucks, man. That sucks. I hate this. I hate this so much. You see Liam Hendricks and Christian Yelich and Justin Wilson. There's just a lot of different guys. And, I get it too. Like, I get it as far as people saying mean things to me too. And it's bad. It's terrible. I love that people have an opportunity to be able to speak their mind, but my goodness, man, if you're threatening people and you're threatening violence to people and their families, like, what are you doing? What are you doing out there? There's just a lot of miserable there's a lot of miserable people in the world, man. And there's got to be something, right? There's got to be some kind of, whether it's I don't even know how to describe it. Like, what do? You punish these people? How do you find these people? Anybody can make a, Twitter handle and have like an egg for their name or egg for their picture, and their name could be like John 578923. Like, it's crazy. Nobody should have to deal with stuff like that. It's awful. I hate it. No good at all. Some of the other stuff. John Lynch, Shane Brandon Ayuk tracking in a good way and return from a knee injury, going out there to San Francisco. I don't know about you guys, but for me, I'm not sold on the 49ers. And if you're telling me who's going to be a better team this year, the Niners or the Bucks, like, I don't think that's close. They're paying all that money to Brock Purdy now, right? So that means you're going to spend less and less money focused on everybody else. Christian McCaffrey's a year older. Trent Williams is a year older. You don't have Deebo Samuel anymore. George Kittle's a year older. So is Fred Warner. Like, none of these guys are young. I don't know. I'm not buying the 49ers. They could be a good team. Don't get me wrong, but Kyle Shanahan, we'll see, buddy. Interesting what Andy had to say, and I'll say Dave forever, and we miss you, Dave Wills, for sure. Interesting what Andy had to say about who is going to be on the team when Hassan Kim gets brought on, right? Because it sounds like right there, like, do you get rid of Walls? Do you get rid of Jose Caballero? I don't think you get rid of Caballero. Walls is a switch hitter, but he can't really hit. And if he's not playing shortstop, he's a late inning replacement, could be a guy, but Caballero probably gives you a little bit more speed. It definitely gives you more with the bat. He's better in the outfield. He's obviously been taking more reps in the outfield as well. Who's the guy you get rid of? And you guys are saying, and I hear from you guys, Walls, David Terry, Brandon McCune. Walls should be DFA'd. Yeah, I mean, probably. I hate that because, I don't like ever calling for people's jobs, but listen, this is just it's a numbers game, right? It's a numbers game. Looking at the situation of, you got to bring a guy up, you got to send a guy down. And we're seeing that today with Jake Mangum getting activated from the 10-day IL and Chandler Simpson getting optioned to AAA Durham. And there's a lot of people that are not happy at all. Brandon McCune, one of them. Chandler Simpson should not have been optioned. The Rays want to keep their right-handed bats in the lineup when they face a left-handed pitcher. So they're going to keep Meade, they're going to keep Morel. But, man, I hate that has to take precedent over a guy that has been a key part to why your offense has been so good. You don't necessarily have to have a lineup where you're stacked with righties against a lefty. You're not going to see that many. And when you think about the guys in your lineup that hit right-handed anyway, right? Just think about this. You're so focused on, I can't get rid of Christopher Morel because I need right-handed bats in our lineup to face left-handed pitchers. All right, well, you have Caminero, that bats right-handed. You have Yandy Diaz, that bats right-handed. You have Danny Jansen, that bats right-handed. You have Jose Caballero, that bats right-handed. All right, let's say you want to get rid of somebody else, but you want to keep Meade's another guy, right? So do you have to have 7 righties against the lefty? I don't think so. I don't think so at all. Not every team does that. Now, you may give a guy a day off. Like, All right, you have that. You're not taking Josh Lowe out of the lineup anyway. You're not taking Jonathan Aranda out of the lineup anyway. You're probably not taking Brandon Lau out of the lineup anyway, right? So what do you get? Where are we getting at? Where are we getting at? A guy on the corner outfield? Are you going to keep Meisner in there? Okay. He's a lefty. I don't know, man. I think the reason why you validate some of these decisions, it's just not good enough for me. It's not. I don't understand. You're going to take a guy out that has been just a demon on the base paths, who's invigorated your fan base, and a guy that is getting love and adoration all across the big leagues, and you take him out and you send him down. It's a tough putt, man. A lot of people are not happy about this decision right now, and it's hard to blame him. It really is. All right, let's bring him in. Saladino Award winner. He's in the dark. Are you all right? Where are you right now?
Oh, let me turn on a light right now.
Yeah, turn on a light so we can see you, brother. We got to be able to see that Saladino Award smile, buddy. There we go. Now we're cooking with peanut oil. Look at all the base. There he is. Jordan Yost, everybody. 2025 Saladino Award winner from Sickles High School. I cannot believe how well you playing for Coach Eric Luxus, the worst coach in Hillsborough. I'm just kidding. Luxy's one of my good pals. Jordan, thanks so much for joining me, man. How are you today?
Yeah, I'm doing well. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, of course, man. What did that mean? And obviously seeing some of the other guys with SQ and McDonald winning that award. And what was it like to win the award and to meet a good friend of mine as well, Tony Saladino, that dude has seen more baseball than you and I will ever forget.
Yeah, it was great getting to eat dinner with him, accept that award. He had a ton of cool baseball stories that he told us. And obviously just the history of the award. The guys that have won it have gone on to do pretty big things. Especially here in Tampa and then in the big leagues. So, it meant a ton. I had a great night with him, and it was definitely exciting to get that award and spend time with him and our family as well as Coach Luxus.
So you struck out one time this season. What happened in that one at bat?
I chased the curveball in the dirt.
It's always the breaking balls in the dirt. Do you remember who it was against and what pitcher it was against?
Yes, it was against Wharton. Pitcher's name was Daniel Duno.
Yeah, but you're not keeping any tab. That's awesome, man. What was working? And we'll talk about your whole career in a second there with Sickles. But what was working so well for you this year, man? Because a couple of the games that I saw you at, my God, it was just you were barreling balls up. You batted .412 this season, 42 hits, 26 RBIs, 4 jacks. You walked 20 times, and again, you only struck out just once. What was working for you at the plate this season?
Yeah, I just always try to be consistent. Put hard contact on the ball. It's kind of been my whole life. I haven't been the biggest person, so I've kind of made an emphasis on making contact and kind of beating balls out. And then as I've gotten older, I've gotten a lot stronger. So some of those balls that are out were over the fence this year and was able to make consistent contact again, which I like a lot. But no, just having the approach of trying to get on for my team in any way possible, not trying to do too much up there. That's been my whole approach my whole life. So just kind of continuing that this year. That's what I did up there the entire year.
Yeah, you had such a fantastic season. Take us through your journey, getting the Sickles there. And what was your first impressions of the program and for Coach Luxus?
Yeah, so my brother actually was deciding where he wanted high school. So there was a few, obviously, options here in the area, and he decided to go with Sickles primarily because of Coach Luxus. Obviously, he didn't know much about him, but he knew that they had success in the past, and it was pretty close to our house. So he chose with Sickles, and then I followed in his footsteps, and he instantly told me how well the program's run there, just with practices, the atmosphere, the families. So I was looking forward to it a lot going into my freshman year. And they had pretty good seasons in the past. So my freshman year, we made it to the Final Four, lost in the semifinals. And my sophomore year, that was by far the best team we had. We actually won the state championship. So we went 30-2 that year. And then obviously this year we won a district. We lost in the regional finals. But yeah, just the culture Coach Luxus has built there. We all buy in, whether it's working out in the fall in the off season or preparing for a game with BP on the field, whatever the case is, he gets us ready and prepared. And obviously I like that a lot about him. And my brother being in college, he says he kind of runs the program like a college program. So just knowing that and him having our full trust, and we trust him without a doubt. So he's done a great job. So just going into high school, I was really looking forward to that, and definitely didn't let me down.
Yeah, Luxie does such a great job there. And the two things that stood out to me that you just said was practice and families. And a lot of people, their priorities is winning, playing time. What are you going to do for my kid? How much are we going to win? But I think, when you're a good ball player and when you've played a lot of ball, you know the difference between a good practice and a bad practice.
Right.
You know the practices where it's one guy doing something and everybody's just standing around, or a practice where everybody's moving, everybody does something. There's stations, you're hitting, you're fielding, you're doing a little bit of work. And then you mentioned the families, right? If you're not a family, you're not going to win. It's hard enough to win even if you guys are a family. And also the families involved, because if the families are only out for their own kid, it's not going to work. Everybody's got to, there's got to be other parents on the team that pull for you and pull for your teammates. What is that family atmosphere like over there at Sickles? And what about the families in particular over the years? Because if you've played as much ball as you had, you get to know the moms and the dads of your teammates and the brothers and sisters.
Right. Yeah. Everyone 100% is pulling for each other over there. I mean, each guy's playing for each other, not only on the field, but like you said, outside with the parents. They're always hanging out together and kind of establishing a bond that lasts the entire season. And within the team, everyone knows their role. Everyone's going for the same goal, and Coach Luxus does a good job of kind of establishing that early in the season. So we kind of know what our end goals will be, and we're all just trying to follow that, whether that's playing first, playing shortstop, hitting leadoff, or kind of being a pinch runner, whatever the case is. Your role. We're all working towards the same goal, which is winning a state championship. But yeah, I mean, the relationship that all of our families have together, it's lasted, I know, for us 6 years, and everyone loves us. We love all their families, and that definitely contributes to the success, whether that's fundraising or physically playing on the field as well.
Yeah, you're right, man. It's just you spend sometimes more time off the field, right? In tournaments and games and traveling and hotels and going out to eat after the games. And there's just so much that goes into it. Baseball is just such a great sport when it comes to that. We see the Florida F behind you, man. Take us through that decision. Were there other schools in contention? Because everybody always loves to see our guys here in Tampa be able to stay in the Sunshine State, and such an incredible program there with Sully. What went into the decision to go to Gainesville?
Yeah, so there were a few other schools I was kind of talking to, but both my parents graduated from the University of Florida, and then my brother's there right now. So kind of going throughout high school, that's the school I wanted to go to. And as soon as they reached out, went to a camp or two, and they offered me, and I accepted right then. So that's always been my dream school. I'm really excited to be there with my brother especially, so should be a good time.
Yeah, that'll be great, man. What about as far as prospects? What are you hearing for the MLB draft? And we know the draft is a lot different, in the past than it is now, because there's only 20 rounds, and high school players, and Tampa's one of those cities where in the country, we have high school pitchers, high school hitters that are selected pretty much in every single Major League Baseball draft. What are they telling you? What is some of the thought processes on where you could go in the draft?
Yeah, so it's kind of interesting with me. Before this year, there was kind of none of that going on.
Mm-hmm.
So in my mind, but kind of as the fall picked up throughout the winter, then definitely at the start of the spring, there was a lot more people coming out to watch. So kind of understood this could be a route for me. But I mean, just kind of taking it one day at a time. I know there's been a lot of guys that have gotten drafted, as you said, out of Tampa, but I try not to think about that too much. I don't have much control over it. I just have control of what I do on the field, and just trying to get bigger, faster, stronger. But yeah, just kind of faith is a big thing with us, just kind of trusting God's plan. I mean, if it's my plan to go to the University of Florida, then it is, or if not, then to go play pro baseball right now, then I'll trust that as well. But just taking it one day at a time, not trying to get ahead of myself, just do what I can right now to be a better baseball player. And wherever I go in the future, that's where it'll take me.
Yeah, that's a great answer, man. I mean, you seem like a guy that's been, you're a control the controllables kind of guy. You know what I mean? Just focus on the things that you can take care of and let all the other chips fall where they may, and get with your family, pray on it, and then go from there. What do you like to do outside the baseball? Are you one of those guys that is baseball all the time? Like, what do you do when you're not, in the cage or you're working on, your craft?
Yeah, so I kind of always doing something active, whether that's pickleball, golf, basketball, whatever the case is. But I haven't been the guy to just focus on baseball. I kind of like to enjoy a little bit outside as well, kind of relax. Baseball is a hard enough sport mentally, so kind of taking my mind off that with other things to do definitely helps, especially throughout the course of a season. But I'd say golf right now is probably the biggest thing for me. Trying to get better at that. It's difficult, but
do you golf lefty or righty?
Lefty.
Okay, because the thing is like I know guys that they hit baseball lefty, but they golf righty. And I'm just like, why wouldn't you do the same thing? Because I know it's harder to find lefty clubs or whatever, but like there's more people than I care to realize. I'm like, God, you hit lefty baseball. Why do you golf righty? So you're straight left on the golf side too.
Lefty, yeah.
So when you get out golfing, is that friends, family? Who are you getting out there on the course with?
Kind of both. Some friends will reach out if they want to play like on a weekend or something. Then I play a lot with my grandpa, some with my dad.
Nice.
My brother's not a huge golf guy, so not really with him too much. But yeah, family, friends. It's always a good time anyway.
What's the next couple weeks looking like for you, Jordan?
So I'm going to a few pro workouts with some teams over the next weeks. So then the MLB Combine coming up. I'll be headed to that in Arizona. And then kind of from there, I'm going up to the University of Florida on June 25th. So go for a few weeks. Then the draft is July 13th. So I'll be at Florida from then until July 13th. And then from there, I'll just kind of see what happens, whether I'm at Florida or playing pro baseball. We'll just kind of see what happens.
What would you tell somebody about high school baseball in the Tampa Bay area? I shouted out from the high heavens, even, when I was coaching at Freedom or I was covering a little bit at the radio station. I'm good friends with Jared Guthrie and 813 Preps. I mean, JG just goes above and beyond to make sure you guys are, spotlighted and given all the attention that you deserve. And I've always told people like high school baseball in Tampa is it's a different animal, right? Like you watch guys now in the big leagues and they played at Plant and Alonzo and Sickles. Right? Like it's crazy. What would you tell somebody that didn't know about high school baseball in the Tampa Bay area?
Yeah, it's crazy competitive. And you kind of see that with going to the States, most of the Tampa teams are really successful there. And whether it's guys in the MLB now or just starting pro ball, like as you said, there's a ton of guys that get drafted from the area every single year. And I think the people around them just make all of us better. Whether that's playing summer tournaments, you kind of see the guys from Tampa usually have success as well and go on to do great things at a big university or playing pro ball, like you said. So, yeah, it's really competitive, and 813 Preps does a great job as well of getting coverage of that so everyone can kind of see what's going on down here.
All right, let's have some fun. You said you golf. If you could play in a foursome with three other people that you've never golfed with before, who would be those three people?
I'd go with Scotty Scheffler, Tiger Woods, myself, and my dad.
All right. Well, you've golfed with your dad before, so you can't you can't add him. You can't add him.
Let's go with, I guess, Rory right now.
You got to bring Rory into the conversation now, right? I mean, it's unbelievable. Do you watch a lot of golf too?
I do. Yeah, I do. I enjoy watching all the tournaments throughout the year. Yeah.
It's amazing. My cousin was there at the Masters when Rory won, and just amazing to be able to see. And you as an athlete, how great is that to be able to watch even a guy at the professional level like achieve a dream? Because you're in a situation right now where your whole life is in front of you now. You did everything right. You are so planted. You're exactly where your feet are. You're a guy that's family driven and faith based, and you're such a great example for people here in the Tampa Bay area. And your whole life is in front of you. But to be able to see people that put their entire life into something like a Rory, and to see him finally achieve the career Grand Slam and be one of only 6 people to do that have walked the planet. Like, it's too wild to say that. Does that give you motivation? Like when you see people achieve their dream and to be able to kind of reach that apex and climb that mountain, is that something that motivates you as an athlete too?
It does, yeah. And I think just kind of seeing the process, like stuff takes time, whether that's with Roy winning the Masters, like completing the Grand Slam, like it took him a while for him to accomplish that. But obviously he was good enough to win it every single year. And I think that applies with me. Like I haven't always been the biggest or the strongest growing up, but then kind of made some leaps the past couple of years, and it's put me in a good spot. But just kind of running your own race, like not listening to the outside people telling you aren't good enough at something, just kind of doing what you need to do to be the best player you can, and you can accomplish good things. But yeah, definitely watching the professional athletes go about their business for sure inspires me.
Jordan Yost, the Saladino Award winner for 2025, Sickles Gryphons graduate, now alumni. Wait, how was the All-Star game the other day and graduation? I got to ask you about that before I let you go. How were those two things?
Yeah, it was a busy 24 hours. All-Star game went well. It was a full day thing, little showcase, and then a game out. Saw a lot of good people, good players from Florida there, and then kind of getting back for graduation yesterday. It was at 11:30, so not too early, but that went well. I got to hang out with some family after, so that was really good to spend time with them. But yeah, I mean, it's all fun stuff at the end of the year here, so we'll kind of see what else is next.
That's right, man. Well, make sure every once in a while you kind of just take a look around and take it all in, because now this is when real life starts hitting. Once high school is over, and trust me, all my friends and family, they live 1,200 miles up north in New York, and I don't see as many people as I used to. Your life kind of just speeds up a little bit. So every once in a while, just make sure you take a deep breath when you're here in Tampa and just look around, value those times with your grandfather and your dad and just your entire family, man, because you're about to become a man now, brother, and you're going off into the wilderness. But the one thing I do know is that you're going to be exactly where you need to be, and we will be supporting you from here in the Tampa Bay area. You have a great support system around you. Again, I got such a great relationship with Coach Luxy. I love that guy. But yeah, man, continued success at Florida, Pro Bowl, wherever you decide to go. And congratulations on all that you've achieved. You've made everybody here in the Tampa Bay area proud. Thanks so much for your time today, and we'll talk down the road, man. Thank you. Enjoy the rest of your summer.
Sounds good. I appreciate it. Thank you.
You got it. Jordan Yost, man, unbelievable career there at Sickles. One of the best careers that you're going to see, as far as a guy that he could swing it, brother. He could swing it. And Eric Luxus and the program that they run over there at Sickles, top tier, man. I went to the game earlier this year, Sickles and Strawberry Crest, two good buds, two UT guys, Eric Luxus and Eric Beatty, and just good programs. We're so lucky here in the Tampa Bay area. We talk so much about John Cooper and Kevin Cash and Todd Bowles and Joe Urso and now Mitch Hannes and Coach Golish and Coach Erickson and Coach Hernandez. Like, we go on all day. Coach Cantor and Coach Darn. Like, there's just so many good coaches here in the Tampa Bay area, and it's not just in pros. It's not just at the collegiate level. It's at the high school level too. So shout out to Coach Luxy and Coach Beatty and everybody this year. Just so lucky to call those guys friends. And yeah, we're very, very fortunate here in the Tampa Bay area. All right, that's going to wrap it up for me. What a great show today. My God, from Tom Krasniqi to Coach Steve Coleman for the Rowdies to Andy Free from Tampa Bay Rays Radio to Jordan Yost. That was a really, really good interview. What a well-spoken young man. He is destined for success. You can kind of get that idea, right? You remember our interview earlier this week from Nicky Rodriguez, Jesuit grad, Missouri State, kind of a similar story, right? With Jordan Yost, a guy that, early on, you didn't really know what it was going to be about, and they just grinded. And people like that, you find that common thread. And I'm going to tell you, the guys that really grinded when I coached them, I'm not saying it had anything to do with me, but those guys that had that mindset of like, I'm going to do whatever it takes. I'm going to make sure that I put myself in a position to succeed on the baseball field. When they were able to take that into real life as a young adult, success followed them. And I have no doubt in my mind, whether it's Nick Rodriguez from Jesuit to Missouri State through Charleston Southern, or Jordan Yost going from Sickles to whether it be Florida or Pro Bowl, those are the type of guys that are going to be successful. What a week. What a week. We had Monday off. We had Tuesday. Man, what a great week of shows. My God, I had so much fun this week. I really hope you guys did too. Getting back on the softball field with the Pendingos, hanging out with Ian and the folks last night at the Dignitary Cafe. Go check them out. 4817 Southwest Shore Boulevard. Talking to Aaron Jacobson yesterday, Tom Krasniqi today. Love my guys over at WDAE. Make sure you listen to Tom today at 3 o'clock live from Moss Nissan in North Tampa. He'll have Eric Neander on at 3 o'clock. He's going to have some explaining to do about Chandler Simpson getting sent down. I'm going to post that here in a second. I love you all. Thank you again. Follow me on all social media platforms at Jay Recher. Like and subscribe. I got to get 1,400 subscribers. I'm at 1,399. Come on. I need a subscriber. Tell a friend, tell a loved one, tell your grandma, tell your mailman. We need more subscribers here on the program. That's the only way we're going to grow. Again, I love you all. Thank you so much for the support. Be safe this weekend. It's going to be a hot one. We'll be back on Monday right here on the Jay Recher Podcast. I am gone. Peace out. Go Nick.